Welcome, welcome! It's Mud Dog with the Texas Space Navy bringing you another Star Citizen video. And today we're going to talk about video capture software. We're going to do a comparison between some of the different softwares out there. I'm not going to go into the technical GUI or anything like that to show you what they look like, but I'm going to show you what the actual results look like. So we have open broadcast software, which is OBS, which is what I primarily use. Really, that's all I use until I did this video and messed around with some of these different types. We also have Nvidia Shadowplay, which comes with like any Nvidia GeForce experience that you could set up. Then we have the Windows Game Capture, which anybody with a Windows 10 system can actually activate. And then finally, we're going to have XSplit, which is one of the older capture softwares, but it's still up to date and it's still a pretty good one, albeit you have to pay for it. Whereas the others you don't really have to pay for. And, well, Nvidia, I guess you have to pay for a video card, but you don't have to pay for the actual software. It's free. So the only one on here that you have to pay for is XSplit. We won't actually see any XSplit until towards the second half of this video. Only first half of the video is going to have OBS, Nvidia Shadowplay, and Windows Game Capture. And the reason is because I did have some issues with some of these softwares, especially when I'm trying to run them all back to back to back. In the second half of the series of this videos, I couldn't run Nvidia Shadowplay because, well, it just had some issues with the settings I had on it. I tried to make all things equal, and of course sometimes things don't become equal, and you'll see in the second half of the video that I actually ran, well, I tried to run all four of those programs at the same time to capture gameplay all at the same time. And let me tell you, that was an experience in frame rate drop, and yeah, it was rough. I don't advise anybody doing that. So out of these first few scenes that you're seeing, tell me in the comments which ones you prefer. Again, I tried to make everything as equal as I possibly could. I will say that I strongly believe that Windows Game Capture sucks, and I would not recommend anybody use that unless you just absolutely had to have something to use. It's probably the worst out of the bunch. I think for me, OBS looks the best, but Nvidia Shadow Shield is right there with it. And then I would say XSplit for me is probably going to be third on my list. You'll kind of see why when we get into the second half of the video. But right now I'm on Microtech with my Cutlass Red. We put down in one of the temperate zones where you can kind of see the flowers, the rocks, and all that. Now you will notice that the black bars grow a little bit more on Shadowplay and Windows Game Capture because they are using my native resolution, which is a super ultra wide as 49 by 9. So a little bit different, whereas my OBS I actually have set up to capture 3440 by 1440 instead of the 5120 or whatever by 1440 that the super ultra wide is. So that's why you're going to see a difference in the black bars. I could not set up Windows or Nvidia to record at 3440 by 1440. It just would not let me do it because that's not my native resolution. Now you could do 1440, but it's going to be actual, was it the 4:3 resolution or whatever. So keep in mind that whatever software you use, they have some limitations. OBS is probably the most flexible as far as all the software. It's extremely flexible. You can pretty much input whatever values you want for your recording. Now, I will say Nvidia is probably the easiest software to use. It's very simple. OBS has a little bit harder setup, but once you do set it up, it's super easy as well because they allow you to do hotkeys. All these will activate on hotkeys. Windows is a little bit more difficult, but I think you can change it and shortcut it to something else. But the built-in hotkeys are not the greatest. It's something like Windows G to pull up their panel, and then you'd have to do Windows Alt R to start recording. You don't have to pull up the panel, you can just record, but it is not a great software to me. It's just not good. And then you have on Nvidia, I believe it's Alt F9 to start recording on Nvidia's software. If you want to bring up their panel, it's Alt Z. Those are the defaults. You can change all of the defaults. Now, I also wanted to show you some of the sounds on these because it records sound differently. The second half of the video, I won't have any sound from it because the sounds would be overlaying each other. But here they're separated. I also want you to take a particular look at color. Now, Nvidia has a capability of post-processing, where some of the others, if they post-process, they don't really tell you about it. But Nvidia has like a smart technology that will detect the game and post-process if the game is capable of doing that, which is pretty neat. Yeah, the sounds are completely different on all three of them. I did capture in-game sounds with all three, so I don't know why the sound profiles would be different, except for maybe the bit rate at which it captures it. OBS again is the most flexible when it comes to that. You can designate a lot of that stuff, how, you know, what the bit rate is and all that. You can do that a little bit on Nvidia for certain aspects, but I found that anytime I changed settings pretty much away from default, I would have issues and Nvidia would not record. So keep that in mind. And you know, mine's up to date, so it wasn't an update issue or a driver issue or software issue. It was just, well, I mean, it's obviously a software issue of some kind. But it would not record if I changed away from my defaults on it. Windows, like I said, it only really has one default. You can't really change. You can change from 30 frames to 60 frames, and that's about it. When we get to XSplit, you would have to purchase XSplit in order to use the 60 frames, as well as a bunch of other features that it has. And it does have a lot of features, but I didn't want to purchase it. You know, I had a free trial. I have a package that I could use from years ago. I don't even, well, I say I could use it. It may be expired. I don't really know. And now you can see some of the frame stuttering on this half of the video because I'm running 4, well, tried to run 4, but it's actually only running 3 video capture softwares at the same time as I walk through Port Tressler above Microtech. So there's definitely some stutters here and there, and it was very frustrating. So again, I would not advise anybody do this. You know, this was for fun. This is to kind of have a comparison, but I want you to compare how everything looks, the colors. I'm looking at this right now through a small panel, so I'm probably not even getting the accurate picture, because usually when this thing renders out, it looks a little different, sounds a little different than what it normally would. So you guys in the comments, I want you to let me know down there which software you feel is best. Now it looks like XSplit has the biggest problem right now when it comes to the frames. I don't know, because it, you know, I don't know if it requires more or what, but it's struggling the most with frames. So I mean, I don't know. I prefer OBS and then probably Nvidia Shield. Nvidia Shield, Nvidia Shadowplay. I really wish I had a version of it in this footage as well. Again, sadly, it did not record. But those are the two that I would prefer. And if you guys are using something else, or if you're using one of those, let me know that down in the comments and how you like it, how much you've used it. Do you use the replay feature on there at all? Because both OBS and Nvidia both have a really good replay function where it will actually save a certain amount of video prior to the point that you hit the replay button. So in other words, you could play, let's say you've been playing for an hour and you had a really fun experience that just happened, but you forgot to capture it on video or record it. You could hit the replay button and the last 30 minutes or whatever would have been recorded for you and saved. So it's a very cool feature, which sadly I never use. I need to remember to use that because it's a phenomenal feature on either one of those softwares. I'm sure XSplit probably has something similar. XSplit has some really good options. I mean, it's fairly easy to use. The only problem is you got to pay for it. So if you don't mind paying for it, you could get a really good, I guess, robust software to use. But why pay for it when you have OBS or Nvidia that'll do all of that and more? Like I said, OBS is just so strong of a recording software, broadcasting software. I mean, all of these will allow you to stream as well. They have options to do that, and they all link up with, you know, your accounts, whether it's, you know, on Twitch, YouTube, you know, most of the big streaming places, streaming platforms, you can directly connect to and automatically start streaming to it. Again, to me, OBS, once you get it set up, is the bomb. It's the best. I really like all the options it has on there. And you can also get plugins for OBS to you know, if you wanted to change the way some things look, you know, if you wanted to change how your chat looks if you're streaming, it's got all sorts of these options for plugins and add-ons. You can add so much into your window, like, you know, a face capture camera. You could add, I mean, you could add all these cutscenes. So OBS is by far, to me, the best one. But, I mean, does it produce the best color video? Does it produce the most accurate color? If you look at these two videos, or three videos here, right now, I think OBS and XSplit have some pretty good blues in the sky. But you can see that XSplit has more of a greenish tint on the ground, where OBS has a brownish tint. And, of course, Windows Game Capture is more in line with XSplit there, with the coloration. Which one's right? I don't know. I am not a professional video editor yet. I don't know anything about color grading. I could throw all these into a color grading software when I put them together like this, and probably made them all look really good. But I didn't, because I wanted you guys to have the more or less the raw version of it, so that you can make up your mind for yourself, and then so you can let me know which ones you like. So you can see the beautiful flowers down here on Microtech. They're really tall flowers. I mean, you can see they're taller than my avatar. That's pretty impressive. I know there's other game capture or video capture software out there. Is it something that you guys use that's not on my list here? I think Fraps you could probably do it with. I know that Filmora has a capture software. I have some Filmora products and I really love them. I have some other products that I feel are a little bit better, but just a little bit. Filmora is awesome. Anything by that Wondershare team is really good. They're very good company. So I know their game software, their capture software, has got to be pretty good as well. And from what I hear, it's pretty easy to use. But again, that's something you're going to pay for. Now with Wondershare, usually they just let you pay a one-time thing. It's not a monthly thing like XSplit is. It'd be you pay like $50 and you got the software for life. Really cool of them. That's awesome. I think that's fantastic. So if you wanted to make that investment on that, you could. But again, with OBS being as powerful it is, I just can't see why anybody would want to pay for another software. You guys can, change my mind in the comments down below. I mean, what's the argument for paying for something when you have something that can already do really well? Again, you can compare the colors here, compare how tight and how sharp the images are, compare the reflections off of the armor. Which one do you think's the best? Are there certain scenes? There's reflections off the rocks too. I think OBS really captures that really well. But yeah, I mean, is one of them looking better to you, or is there one looks better in one scene, one looks better in another scene? Like, does OBS perform really well here on the planet, but XSplit performs really well in space, or Nvidia performs really well in space? I mean, you guys let me know down in the comments down below. That would be really cool to get your input on this. I think I'm going to stick with OBS. I may fool around more with Nvidia, but I think OBS is going to be my jam, as the saying goes. So guys, if you like this video, you know what to do. Hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed to me, what's wrong with you? Hit that subscribe button. Join up. I'm almost to 2,000 subscribers. I'm going to do 2 giveaways once we hit 2,000 subscribers. So hit that subscribe button. Hit that little bell icon to let you know when I do more of these videos. I've got other videos coming up. This video and the video I have planned for tomorrow has a lot of editing, so I may try to put something in between there that doesn't. Guys, I appreciate everybody that's checking out the ads on the page and clicking on them and watching them all the way through. That really helps. Thank you so much. For you guys who have become members, thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys can get a membership. That is awesome. I can't thank you enough. I'm Mud Dog with the Texas Space Navy. I'll see you out in the verse.